Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of People of Clubhouse. Today, we have a very unusual conversation with one of my guests who also has an unusual story. Matt Storm, thank you very much for being here with me tonight.
Oh, well, thank you for having me and so excited and looking forward to this.
You're joining us from where?
We're in Houston, Texas, in the central part of the United States.
Wow, so we have quite a bit of time difference. This has been really challenging scheduling the interview. So I'm happy you could join us today. So Matt, you are a retired US athlete. Tell me more about your career. What have you been doing?
Yes, I appreciate you asking that. And I originally started playing sports in high school and was able to go to college while still continuing to play men's volleyball. And after I finished college, I wanted to do something to keep me physically in shape. And was running a business for 20 years. And I met my wife. We got a chance to get married. We have three beautiful children. And it really kind of took me a second to take a step back and really evaluate where I was with physical and mental health. And what I was realizing was I was pouring into others and making sure that my family was good without pouring back into myself and making sure that my cup was full. Mm-hmm. So I decided to make a run at bodybuilding and getting into fitness. In 2014, I hired a coach and competed a few times up all the way to 2015. We had another baby and took a couple of years off. In 2017, resurrected the career, and in November, decided to compete again, and then turned around, and in December of 2017, I earned my pro card at our World Championships, which is called the Atlas.
Wow.
And yes, 2018, got a chance to make the pro debut in Hawaii, won the Hawaii Pro. In Oklahoma in July, won the Oklahoma Pro, and then got a chance to compete in our World Championships at the end of 2018 and take a top 5 placing in the world to finish off my career. And I thought that it was time to get back to family.
This is amazing. And so here I must ask you, in men's sports, Matt, the atmosphere is, like a fraternity, boy culture, macho men. I'm going to be very honest and say it is the environment to breed toxic masculinity. Yes or no?
I would agree that it definitely is an atmosphere to breed if it's, and I think that it needs to be addressed. And that's something that a great point that you bring up, Sahar. Yes.
So it is amazing to me. This is what caught my attention in your Clubhouse bio, that your club and your podcast are called Are You Man Enough? And if you put that next to your photo, immediately I will get the stereotype of this aggressive, masculine man who is macho and so on. But then when I went to your club, I discovered the total opposite. So tell me, what is the message of your club and your podcast? What are you trying to teach men, Matt?
Great question, and thank you for asking that. What we're teaching men, I believe, is what they're teaching me. And a lot of times we have so many different backgrounds and perspectives and age gaps that we have gentlemen that range from 60, 70, 80 years old who come speak to us about their wisdom. And we have gentlemen as young as 18 to 20-year-olds who are talking about starting their journey and want a better model from what they've seen growing up. And, the Are You Man Enough title originally came to when we thought about, okay, so what's a title that maybe might generate some curiosity? And more importantly, are we staying consistent with this? And I think all of us as men have this deep down secret that we never want to share with anyone. And we're always asking ourselves, am I enough? Am I loved? And am I adequate? And so when we really get down to the core principle of it, we wanted something that was more of a challenge to kind of see what we were talking about. And just so happens that, what you mentioned, people think, wow, this is actually a little bit different than I thought. We're actually talking about things that I believe need to be addressed, want to be talked about, and especially men yearn to learn for information and be able to internalize and therefore pass down to their children as well.
That is very interesting to me. Also, the fact that you come from Texas, where the general stereotype globally is the Texas cowboy. And so again, this adds another layer to that masculine man identity that people think of. But now you're talking to me about vulnerability. And so why do you think society teaches boys from a young age not to show vulnerability, never to show that they have emotions or learn how to express them. Why does society teach boys and young men that this makes them feminine, as if it's a threat for them to get in touch with their emotions or learn how to express them? How do you reflect on that?
Yes, that is a true point. And if you think about our society in different countries, the way men and women are treated and views are much different. There's a stark difference when it comes to a per country basis. And in the United States, we were glamorizing strength as far as a physically fit body. And that's what you see all over the billboards and what's advertised. On TV, you see men are essentially looked upon as kind of not necessarily incompetent, but the man who goes to work and comes home and just kind of shows up, and the wife is becoming stronger. She's getting more of a voice in the United States. And when I was growing up, I noticed that my dad was very stoic. He was someone who didn't show emotion. His job in his mind was to provide and protect. If he's providing for the family, he's doing his job. If he protects them from harm, that is his mission and objective. And so what ends up happening is, they don't really know from that generation how to get in touch with their own feelings. Therefore, when their sons show those feelings, they're not sure how to process that and deal with that. And I experienced that firsthand. My father and mother got divorced at 4 years old, so I had limited time with my father, but he didn't show emotion. Therefore, I was self-modeling what he was showing me, not even realizing how consciously or subconsciously that was going to affect me as I grew up. And as I got a chance to grow up and have a son myself, I think it's important to recognize that there are going to be emotions there, and the maturity level will eventually progress only to the point where I've shown him how I have matured as a man. And now with society the way it is, I believe there's more room for being able to be in touch, to be able to connect with people. And we are connecting with people around the world at a faster and more convenient rate than ever. And it's now starting to show that it's okay for a man to show emotion.
This is very interesting. And so you're telling me that you're raising your children differently. Are they boys or girls?
I have two girls, a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, and then I have a 6-year-old son.
And you're teaching them differently from the way you were brought up, and me and everybody in our generation.
Yes, and one of the reasons why, Sahar, is I've surrounded myself with people who, number one, I trust. Number one, we admire their families. And number three, they're modeling what it's like to be a true human being and showing connection with our kids. We don't want to give our kids everything we didn't have. We want to teach we want to teach our kids the things that we never learned. And as we evolve as a society, I believe that it's important to be aware of breaking the cycle of the things that we've learned, but also the things that we haven't, and be able to be open and receptive to the things that allow us to let our families be our families and show our true, authentic selves. Therefore, they are allowed to express and show who they are becoming.
And so for your son, for example, are you teaching him it's okay to cry? Are you teaching him protection for his sisters, as well as listening to them and sharing with them and this kind of thing?
Yes, he's a highly emotionally charged individual, and what I love is he's able to express his emotion, but we also talk about why he's feeling what he's feeling. A lot of times with boys, when they're maturing, they're going to feel like life is not fair. And he's outnumbered right now. He's got two daughters. He's got two girls as his older sisters. And, he does protect them at school, and they all go to the same school. And more importantly, he also fights with them. And physically, he's stronger. He's growing a little faster than our middle child, and they get along amazing. But when they fight, and he doesn't understand his own strength. So we let him know what's right and wrong in the behavior, but we also allow him to be in the moment to understand why he's feeling the emotion he's feeling.
That's amazing. And so another facet to this discussion, I think, that would bring an interesting perspective is that toxic masculinity is something people talk about, but not too many people talk about toxic femininity, which I think is the other side of the coin. If we're teaching society, teaching men and boys that they have to be all the time tough, violent, sexually aggressive, never express their emotions, then by default, society also teaches women to accept those traits in men and to be submissive to those toxic traits. And so, what are you doing with your daughters? Are you in a way trying to protect them from falling into that trap?
Oh, that's a great question. And, you brought up something that I believe needs to be addressed, and it's this. As men and women, we both carry the same feminine and masculine energy within ourselves. And how we distribute that depends on the partners that we have. And a great example of this, I think it becomes toxic either on the extreme feminine side or the extreme masculine side when we really, when we go off center and off kilter is when we don't recognize the polarity of our partner. I am the leader of the family, but I also do it in a way to where I will surrender to my wife in certain areas where I know that she needs to step up and take leadership and be in her true masculine energy form. And my daughters are very different. My oldest daughter is very competitive. She's a daddy's girl. She's always with me. She wants to do the things that I do. Therefore, she's taking on, more of her masculine energy while she's with me. But she also, in the same sense with her friends, loves to do her nails, loves to put makeup on, loves to stay clean, brush her hair, do her hair in braids, and put it up in a ponytail. So she is able to flow in and out of that. And my other daughter, who is very quiet, she's very reserved, she also loves to be involved, but she's more of a mommy's girl. And I see her take more of a dominant feminine role, which means she's able to surrender to mommy. She has opinions and thoughts, and she'll express them when she feels comfortable. But once you get to know her, she definitely kind of comes out of her shell, and she blossoms like a flower. So I find it very interesting that the two dynamic between these two individuals who carry the same DNA act much differently and behave much differently depending on their environment.
This is very interesting, and I think, honestly, I think your family are very lucky to have you, Matt. You sound like a very caring father and husband, and very understanding, and I can see that you've done your homework. You've worked very hard to focus your understanding of yourself and of your family. So this is really commendable. At the end of every interview, I always ask my guests. People who are listening to us now are outside of Clubhouse because this interview is going to go on my YouTube channel. And so, what would you like people who are listening to us who might want to contact you? How would you like them to cooperate with you, offer you any kind of help, volunteer, be your guest, whatever? What do you need from the listeners?
Yes, Sahar, thank you very much, first of all, for having me. And I really, truly enjoy, just having these conversations with amazing human beings like you.
Thank you. The same here.
Oh, you're welcome. I am on Instagram, and it's Matt Storm Official, MattStorm Official. Or I'm also under Facebook as Matthew Storm. And I also have a YouTube channel as well, which is Are You Man Enough? And also GBO Podcast. So there's a multi-different faceted way of doing that, but I'm just happy to contribute, happy to help, and happy to support in anyone who needs me or someone that I can learn from. So I do hope that helps.
Amazing. I will be sharing all the links to your social media so people can find you in the description of this video. Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope one day we can meet families and discuss some more, and you're very welcome back on the show anytime you like.
Sahar, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoy your day. I appreciate you having me and very much appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Matt. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you've learned something from this interesting conversation that I enjoyed so much. I'm Sahar, and I'm done speaking.